Hi everyone, welcome to Azure User Group Sweden. Hi Håkan, how are you?
Hello, Jonah. Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. I have a different background today. I'm sitting in the veranda, so that's why
Yeah,
it
I can
looks
see.
brighter. Yes, it's a sunny Saturday. How about you? How
Yeah,
are
we
you
can see
doing?
over here. I suppose it's a clear blue sky, and
Yes.
everything is excellent.
Yes. Hi, everyone that's watching us right now. I hope that you're having a great day and great weekend, or day or evening, wherever you are sitting and watching us publicly. Thank you for joining us today. And I wanted to ask you, Håkan, I know that you mentioned on our chat yesterday that you met Ashish and Gabriel in the .NET user group session in person.
Yes, actually. So this week has been the first week since February 2020 where we've started running in-person sessions. So last Monday we had a Norwegian.net user group where I met Ashish, and we had this wonderful session about event sourcing with Einar Ingebrigtsen. So I recommend everyone go to YouTube, just look for NNUG Oslo, and you will find it. And then Wednesday we also had an Oslo AI user group where I met Gabriel. So it's really nice to see these people in person.
Yes, that's right. Okay, yes, thank you. We have a great session coming today. It's about the secrets behind building a reactive Azure applications. Yeah, go ahead, Håkan.
Yes, I was just saying, but before we start of that, we can just have a quick introduction here about ourselves and about our user group. So I can start with you, Jordan. So you work as a full stack software engineer at Forefront Consulting, and you are also a Microsoft Azure MVP in Sweden.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Håkan. And to introduce Håkan, my co-community leader, an awesome friend also in the community. Håkan Silvernagel is a manager for AI and big data at Miles in Norway. And he is also a public speaker and Microsoft AI MVP. And we're very happy to collaborate together for the community by the community. That's our tagline. Yes, and before we start and bring in our special guest today, let me just share our code of conduct. So here in Azure User Group Sweden, we follow a code of conduct where we request everyone to be nice and friendly, listen with purpose, and be thoughtful, be respectful to others, seek to understand and not criticize, and be curious and open to share ideas and be inclusive in all your comments and your questions. So you can read more about our code of conduct on the link that we have on the screen right now. All right. So let's introduce our guest speaker today. Let's see if she is ready.
Yes. Yeah, we should also say that unfortunately, right now there is some storm and some heavy rain, so there could be that maybe we experience some technical problems, but we'll try to make the best out of it. So we can
Yes.
see here if she is available here on
Yes.
stream. Hello.
Hi, Hakan. Hi, Jonah. Hope you
Hi.
can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just to introduce, we have Essie here, Kesavan. She is lead product consultant for a Serverless360 at Kovai, that's CEO as well. So, how are you doing, Essie?
I'm doing great, Jonah. And we have got a cool breeze in midst of the summer, though it is unexpected. So I am I'm working with my backup internet. So to optimize the internet utilization, I have turned off my camera.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see if
very,
power
very
resumes.
smart. Yeah, that's very smart. Essie is joining us from India today. I believe it's an
Mhm.
afternoon there, right?
It's in the evening. Yeah.
Yeah, evening. Yes, that's right. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
So,
So
so can
go ahead.
so do you want to say a couple of words there about what we will see in your presentation?
Yes, Hakan. So, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here on this event today. And Jonah has been a very good friend of mine when we connected through a podcast show. And I am working with enterprise customers on making their Azure utilization much better, accelerating their Azure adoption, and helping them define and support workflow using the tool that we have built, Serverless360, in Azure for Azure. So that's how my exposure with Azure began, and I'm happy to share my learnings that I have observed in how enterprises build applications to meet the real-time business needs. So, and this session is going to cover on what that Azure offers that helps me to build a reactive application to meet the current demand of business users.
Yes, exciting,
Nice.
interesting. I think you were going to mention about Azure Logic App also, is he right?
Yes, Jonah. Yes,
Yes.
I'm going to touch upon a number of Azure services, especially the integration platform that Azure offers. And I also have a demo planned. So the length of the demo and the depth we will get in depends on how long the session is going to get into. So feel free to stop me, because when I start talking about Azure topic, which I'm passionate about, it keeps going on.
I
Yes.
understand. And to all our viewers watching us, joining us live today, stay tuned with us because we're gonna do after session fika like before as well to with Essie if you want to discuss or have direct questions to her in private. So that's also something we will do later. And we have audience already. Hi Ashish and Wayne for joining us.
And
All
we should
right.
also say that we will share this link to this Zoom meeting at the end of the session. So just stay tuned, and you will see how you can connect.
Yes.
And then, if Easy, if you want to
Awesome.
share your screen, then we can start the presentation.
Yes.
Yes, Hakan. Can you see my screen on the presentation?
No, you need to share it in the StreamYard first.
Oh, reshare it. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Can you see my screen now, Hakan?
Yes,
Yes.
sounds. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks, audience, and thanks, Hakan and Jono, for this opportunity here. Today, let us discuss about the secrets behind building and reactive Azure application. So as I told you, like my engagement with Serverless 360 opened up a platform for me to interact with the enterprise Azure developers, wherein I understood and learned a lot of acquired a lot of knowledge on how to build reactive applications in Azure, taking advantage of the services, the integration platform as service that Azure offers. So in this session, let us focus on a specific business use case and let us explore what Azure offers in making me build a reliable and efficient real-time application that meets the current demands of business users. So before we head ahead, let us have a quick recap on how and little of bit of digging into the history. How has the evolution of applications been? Like I am in this IT industry for the last 13 plus years, and the day when I started building applications, it was completely different from how we build applications today. So in years, like a decade back, we had large applications which were running on tens of servers, and those servers were right in front of me, and I had the responsibility of managing their response times, where the response time was allowed to be of seconds, and hours of offline maintenance. I still remember when I was back with Infosys, I used to take, and a couple of days of offline maintenance was acceptable. Like throughout the weekend, when there is a release, the application will be brought down and we will apply the patches, and then they will go live. So this couple of days of maintenance or hours of offline maintenance was acceptable back in time. And the data that we were dealing with were in gigabytes. But let us look at the applications that we build today and the applications that we interact with in the present time. They are deployed on everything, running thousands of multi-core processes, right? I do not even see the server where my application is running in, but my users or the end users expect the application to be available anywhere in in my handheld device or on my desktop machine or on my laptop or a tablet. We expect the applications to be available everywhere, and millisecond of response times is expectation from the user. The very first time, if the application fails to meet your user's response time expectation, they are not going to come back to you. And 100% uptime and offline maintenance is no longer acceptable. And the data that we are dealing with is are in petabytes. So the scope of the application has widened, and and we need to build to meet the expectation of your end users. And that's where we need to scale up as the technology evolves. So the scenario is not as complex as complicated as I am talking about, though the evolution of application has taken place. The technology has also evolved, right? You have the when we scale up ourselves with the evolution of the technologies, when we choose the right technology and when we use them appropriately, it is possible for me to build a reactive application that meets the current business demands. So now, before we proceed further, let us define what do we call as a reactive application. There should be certain properties, isn't it? So let us try to understand what is the definition of a reactive application as per the reactive manifesto. So we are going to follow these guidelines or keep these in mind when I build my application. So let us try to understand what has been the expectation for a reactive application. I would say four core principles. First of all, my application should be responsive. That is, whenever possible, my application should respond or be responsive. This is going to be the cornerstone of my usability and utility. If my application is not being responsive, then you cannot expect the user to deal with it. Yes. So even if it is failure, it should tell me on the face that there is a failure and you cannot proceed further at this point in time. If it is a success, it has to respond to me within the defined timeline of responsiveness. And in case of a problem, the system should automatically detect the problem and fix it effectively. I need to emphasize here the fix should be an effective fix. Yes, it should have a rapid and consistent response times. As we said, the current applications, what we expect is some millisecond of response times, right? And it has to be a consistent behavior. Quality of the service and it will has to be consistent, and that's how you can gain the confidence from your end users, and only then your users are going to come back to your application, right? And this is what is going to encourage further interactions of your users with your application. So this defines the responsiveness. So whenever possible, your application should be responsive to the end user, and this has to be in consistent behavior. What is resilience? So how should my application behave in case of a failure? And resilient application should be responsive even in case of a failure. That is, even if it is a fail, it should not just black out. It should let the user know that I'm currently undergoing a failure and I would be restoring back. But how do I ensure that my application is resilient? So you have to follow four key properties, like four principles has to be taken care of. Replication. And you cannot rely on one instance of your application to be available to all your end users. What if one of my instances fail? I should have a replication of this instance in another region so that that responds to my end user. So one way of taking care of resilience is through replication of your instance of application. Containment. In case of a failure happens, should that be passed on to the entire application? No, it should be contained within that particular application. So how do I contain the failure? For which I will have to isolate each component of my business application. So isolation is required for me to contain the failure. And a failure should be delegated to another component. So by taking care of all these four, I can make sure that my application is going to be resilient. How? I will have to replicate it. I cannot rely on a single instance. And in case of a failure, the failure should be contained within a particular module, and the module should be isolated from each other. And the failure in a module should be delegated to another module for it to be restored. This also ensures that your application is highly available. So, in case of business critical scenarios, we also need to take care of high availability of your application. So, which is just the same. Like you, when one instance of your application fails, you cannot afford to fail your business, right? There should be another instant which automatically comes up that can facilitate the user needs. And in case of error handling, it is very important that you have to contain the error and your application has to handle it. You cannot pass on your error to the client applications and then you can allow them to handle it, because in the current business scenario, integration is inevitable. So I imagine an e-commerce scenario, you have multiple applications that are integrating with each other to fulfill the business need. There could be an SAP component, there could be an um, banking application, payment gateway. All these need to work together to handle your e-commerce execution. So in such cases, you cannot force your client application to handle your failures. Your application should deal with the failures. So these are important when we want to build our application to be resilient solution. So what is elasticity? Responsiveness under a varying load. Say today I have 10 users hitting my application, and tomorrow I have announced an big billion day deal, and I can expect the number of users to be spiked, right? How am I building my application to deal with this varying load? My application should behave invariably, responsively in case of the varying workload. How do I make sure of it? Is my elastic design. Yes, I should be in a position to replicate the components and distribute the loads seamlessly. Yes, how can an application be replicating the components automatically? It should have the predictive and reactive scaling algorithms in place that is going to scale up or scale down or scale out your instances to meet the varying workload that is incoming. Yes, and you should have continuous live performance metrics, measuring metrics in place that's going to help me be elastic, right? And here in this case, being elastic also includes being cost effective. That is when I should scale out only when it is necessary. I should spin up the additional instances only when my algorithm informs that my application might have to handle additional resource. So this is very critical. That is, you need to keep the cost effectiveness in mind and still meet the performance requirement of your applications. Yes. And last but not least comes the message driven. That is the key requirement being reactive. That is, whenever my customer has a need, my application should react to it. Yes. How can I achieve that? Is maybe defining or my architecturing my application to be message or event driven. Yes. So here what we need is an asynchronous message passing. That is, say imagine I have an external website through which my customer purchases an item, and I have a backend application that's going to process every order that comes in. Yes, so these two applications are completely decoupled by bringing in and messaging service in between. So how can I decouple these applications to ensure that asynchronous processing of orders happen by bringing in a messaging service? So this is a typical example of an message driven architecture. So my website is up and running, and my backend application is up and running. So irrespective of whether both the components are up and running at the same point in time, my orders will get processed. That is, my all the segregation of responsibilities is clearly being taken care of. All that the website is going to do is compile the order, push it as a message, and when my backend application is up and running, it is going to pick it up and then process. So they are loosely coupled components, and in case of a failure, these failures are delegated to another third, like failover system, which is going to take care of it. Yes, and this is also ensuring a non-blocking communication. Say for an instance, my backend processing application is down for some point in time. It is not going to impact my order execution at all. And I'm still continuing to serve the end users who are placing orders on my website. And when my backend application is up and running, it's going to process. Say I'm executing a change in the order processing workflow, and that can happen offline without impacting my customers from submitting the orders. So these are the advantages of decoupling the components and bringing in a non-blocking communication in between. So with this definition of a reactive application, so we need the application to be responsive, resilient, elastic, and message driven. Yes. So now let us see how can I build a reactive application using Azure. So what does Azure offer that's going to help me build a reactive application is a question here. Yes, let us explore what Azure offers. So this is an well-architectured framework that Azure recommends that's going to help us build our reactive application. So in this well-architectured framework, along with all the support that Microsoft Azure provides us right from the design phase till the deployment phase of the application, there are 5 core pillars that we need to pay attention to. So, as you see, these 5 core pillars, when we address these 5 core pillars, we are ultimately building an reactive application. So, all the 4 needs of a reactive application will get met when I adhere to the well architecture framework proposed by Azure. And Azure has got the tools and documentation and principles in place that is going to help me achieve these 5 core pillars. So it's necessary for us to understand these 5 core pillars before we proceed further, isn't? So what is reliability? So as we saw, this is one of the key requirements of a reactive application as well. So even a well-architectured framework recommends us to achieve reliability. That is, even if one of my instance is down, another instance should be up and running. So what Azure assures me is that every service that they provide is and it's built to meet the reliability. So say if I am going forward, we are going to pick up an business case and we are going to identify the Azure services that are going to help me build a reactive application to fulfill the business need. So in that case, I will have to keep in mind that I need to design the application to take care of reliability. Yes, operational excellence is when I work with this application in real time. What is that Azure offers for me to take care of automation in operations? How can I say I have made a modification to my application? How efficiently can I push it to my end users without any downtime? What does Azure have in place to support my DevOps that's going to automate my shipping my developments into my end user? And when it comes to performance efficiency, we need to ensure that you scale out, or scale up your services without any impact to meet the real-time business need. Yes, so here, say here, if your demand is here and your efficient usage should be close to that. In case when your demand is way above your provisioned capacity, then you might encounter in performance issues. So these all need to be continuously monitored, isn't it? I need to continuously monitor my application to anticipate any performance issues, and the scaling should happen to meet the varying workload. And the well architectured framework recommends that we need to take care of the performance efficiency when we architecture our application. Security, defense and depth should be our goal. So the security has to be taken care of at all the levels: application security, network security, and your when you have past services, you should define the policies, and the standards has to be put in place. Your data security has to be taken care of at all the levels. The security has to be taken care of to ensure that your entire application is secure. Cost optimization, we need to improve the quality, improve this responsiveness of the application, speed, efficiency. All these need to be improved by keeping the cost in control. So even here, there is a critical need for you to choose the right tiers of your resources and continuously monitor them to keep the cost under control. So these are the 5 pillars. When taken care of, is going to give me the reactive application that I am expecting. So how Azure supports us to implement a well architectured framework? You have design principles and reference architectures that is going to tell you how you should build your applications the right way. Have extensive documentations, and there are Microsoft partners and support services in place which are going to help you build your application the right way. You can also perform an Azure well architectured review to ensure that your application is built to match the needs of well architectured framework. We have an Azure advisor as a part of the portal itself, which is going to give you recommendations on how to build right. So now, with this introduction, let us explore what Azure offers as an enterprise integration platform that is going to help me build an reactive application adhering to the well architectured framework. So here is all that we get under an enterprise integration platform offered by Azure. So let us explore some of the services. So we talked about reliability, right? So reliability is, say, when I'm in the simple e-commerce scenario that we talked about, there are orders coming in. How reliable is my system to ensure that every order that has come into this application has been processed? Yes. So if I have to define a messaging service or an eventing service all by myself, then reinventing the wheel is not that reliable, right? There are multiple factors that are dependent on when I design an messaging or eventing service as such. So instead, a service bus or an event hub or event grid service, which is offered by Microsoft Azure, or highly reliable when you are dealing with messaging and eventing services. And say when I have my website, that is e-commerce website, is expected to take an enormous load to meet the need of a big billion day. It's so easy for me to configure with mere configuration to achieve geo replication, or when I want to scale out or scale up the tier of my web app service, it all happens as a mere configuration in my Azure portal. Yes, so Azure supports elasticity. Yes, so this resilience is something that I will have to take care of when I build my application, right? Say if you are defining your logic apps using you are defining your workflow using logic apps, there are certain best practices that you can follow that will help you make your application resilient. Say for example, here is an simple logic app scenario that I would like to share with the team. Mm. So I'll have to stop the sharing now and then reshare it for you to see the Azure portal. Let me do it quick. So here is my Azure portal, and I have an logic app that fulfills the workflow requirement of an onboarding an employee. Yeah. So in this case, when we are talking about resilience in your application, we're talking about 4 core things, right? Replication. That is, I can have my logic app geo-replicated in multiple Azure regions so that even if one region goes down, I can have the other regions up and running. Another is containing isolation. Yes, so how do I contain error within an uh, workflow? Say this particular scenario involves invoking multiple other applications to fulfill various actions that needs to be carried out. So this is a logic app wherein which onboards an employee. So there is a background verification that needs to be accomplished, adding the organized employee to an organization DB upon the background verification being complete, and then initiating the insurance processes. So these are the set of operations that needs to be carried out when I onboard an employee. Yes, so I enclose all of them under an control called action called scope. Yes, so this is a best practice which can help you contain your failure. So what if one of these operations fail? How do I evaluate that? So when one of these operations fail, it means that there is a failure in my process to onboard my employee. So for which you need to enclose them into a scope, and based on the status of the scope, you need to handle the exception appropriately. So here I am evaluating the status of the scope with an expression, say result of scope, and I am fetching the status of the scope. So even if one of the actions within the scope fails, it's going to return me an status, say it could be an failed or aborted state. So in that case, I need to generate an alert on my notification channel. So this can be achieved with the help of introducing scope in your application, in your logic app definition. So this is one example of containing your exception in a logic app. So what if I'm writing an custom web application in .NET, or it could be a function? How can I do that? Exception handling. Exception handling is a right way to contain your failure. So contain your failure to be restricted to a specific module in your application, ensuring that rest of your application works as expected even if this module fails. And this has to be delegated to another component. Say in this case, when I find that the scope has failed or aborted, there should be another workflow which is going to evaluate where the failure has happened and how the process has to be reinitiated. So that should be a part of your business application implementation. Yes, to ensure that your application is resilient. Yes, so we talked about reliability, elasticity, resilience, and how about being message driven? So we also mentioned that to decouple the components, I'm going to introduce an messaging service. Yes, when you want to store your data, you have services like storage account for your unstructured data, Cosmos DB, and you have Azure SQL database that can save your relational data. Yes, transactional informations can get in here. So all of these storages come in with default encryption criteria. That is, you can turn on encryption on these information, and data backup or disaster recovery is all possible to be achieved with mere configurations on these services. And when you have and complex scenarios like you're migrating or extracting and transforming and loading your information from one destination to another, so especially in the we observe this in the current industry trends. So many of the customers are migrating from their on-premise integrations to cloud, right? So this invites a data transformation to be inevitable. So data factory is an excellent service that Azure Integration Platform offers, that's going to give you an pipeline definition possible for you to extract, transfer, and load your information from one source to another destination. So these are some of the services that are necessary for us to consider as we proceed to build the business scenario that we are going to deal with. Yes, and API management is another excellent service that can help you protect your endpoints. Say you have a Logic app, you have Azure Function app, and you want to allow a third-party application to access to consume these as APIs to achieve integration. So instead of exposing the logic apps endpoint as such, it is recommended to enclose them into an API management, enforce policies that can ensure security on these endpoints, and then proceed with exposing them. Yes. To as we also mentioned that one of the requirements in the well architectured framework is monitoring these services. So you build your business application using these integration services. So as we observe, these are reducing a lot of complexities that I need to take care of to meet my reactive application needs. But how easy it is for me to monitor them in real time and keep the cost in control and performance efficiency, to achieve performance and cost efficiency. So in that case, we are in need of the monitoring and management solutions, right? So Azure offers them as well. You have a cost analyzer which is going to give you an analysis on where do you spend in your Azure subscription, what needs to be cut down. So all these can be evaluated with the help of a cost analyzer. You can use a security center that's going to ensure that your integration is meeting the security requirement. And you have the key wall to save your credentials safe. You have the application configuration that is going to allow you define the reactive application needs in mere configurations, say be it an geo replication or be it be it the geo replication. You can achieve them all at ease with the help of application configurations. Application insights is an excellent tool set for a developer to understand how your application performs in real time. So where did my application exactly fail can be pinpointed with using application insights. And log analytics can help give you correlate your end-to-end transactions. Say when I have my logic app that is executing information of multiple of my employees, then I want to have a visualization on how this correlation happens. Log analytics is an excellent source. And Azure Monitor can alert you on the metrics that can give you an insight on the performance of your resources. Yes. So these are certain management and monitoring tool sets that Azure offers that's going to help you build your reactive application. Yes. So now getting into a specific business scenario.
Ezzy?
Okay, just a
Yes.
quick confirmation, Johanna or Hakan.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Ezzy. We have a feedback from our audience, from Wayne, that they're
Mm-hmm.
still seeing, or we are actually still seeing your Azure Logic App Designers, not your PowerPoint. So we wonder
Yes,
if
yes.
you
And
it
that
was
was my doubt
intended.
as well. That was no, it wasn't intended. That was my doubt as well. So that's why
I
wanted to
understand.
stop here and then
Yeah.
yeah.
We apologize to our audience if we missed that. But yes, yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
So now can you see my presentation, Jonah?
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and sorry about that, people. And I'm happy that like people are still with me, and then pointing out where I have lagged. Yeah. So to give an brief back, so this was the slide that I was talking about, highlighting the various services from Azure and how it can help me build my reactive applications. So here is a complete suite on management and monitoring that will help me achieve the cost efficiency, security compliance, your managing like handling your information, so your be your credentials or app configurations the secure way to be shared across multiple of your resources using key vault. You can achieve geo disaster recovery or replication with as mere configurations using the application configurations. And application insights will be an awesome tool set for developers to understand where does my application fail. And log analytics can help you achieve end-to-end correlation across resources. Say when you have multiple logic apps, working together to solve your business use case, just as the scenario that I showed. And you can correlate all of them and then visualize how did your transaction get through by using log analytics. And Azure Monitor is an excellent tool set to give you alerts on the metrics of your Azure resources. So altogether, this enterprise integration suite is an excellent tool set that can be put together to meet a business need. And in this scenario, to understand their power much better, let me talk about a real-time business scenario, and let's put together these services to build the application which is reactive, which meets the business functional needs of this business application. So this is a scenario wherein the need of the customer was to build a fleet management system. So they are into the logistics industry, that they have their vehicles or their mm, their vehicles spread across the shipments spread across the globe, and they wanted a system that is going to help me manage their fleet across the globe. Yeah, so they had an legacy business application which is residing in their premise, and they did not want to um, get rid of it at this point in time. So they wanted to retain this particular business logic on premise, and then proceed with integrating with the cloud components that can make their fleet management system more intelligent and to meet the real time needs. So they have implanted telematic devices on the vehicles that are going to stream events every second. Like every second, I'm going to get events that has information about what is the location of the vehicle at this point in time, who is the driver on that, what is the insurance status of it, at which speed is it traveling, or all such information that is critical for my fleet management system to be made intelligent or streamed from my telematic devices. So this is out of our scope at this point in time. Let us assume that this telematic devices are in good shape and they are streaming events as per our requirement. Yeah. The next is an event ingester service that accepts and stores the event data. So I'm getting events from my telematic device. So I need an event ingesting service. And this organization prefers this to be on the cloud. So anything that I'm going to build new, it's going to reside in cloud as a principle this enterprise has taken. And they need an event ingesting service that can stream millions of information seamlessly and reliably. So what is the requirement here is an event ingester. And this information should be handled by my on-premise business logic, that is the legacy code which is residing in my on-premise, right? Obviously, I expect my on-premise application to perform process these millions of events as and when they arrive. So I need an permanent storage where all these events are captured, and then my on-premise application can be allowed to process these events at its own pace. So this is my idea here. So I need a cloud storage service to allow the on-premise application to process these accumulated events at later point in time at its convenience. And this on-premise application is expected to process these stored events. But how will it know that the event has come in? Is it we generally say that polling is not an efficient solution, right? Can I expect the business application to keep polling the in storage account for arrival of vehicle telematic information? No, that's definitely not efficient solution. So I will have to streamline this, right? I should allow this business application to interact with the cloud services so that it gets an intimation as and when the event that it is looking for has arrived. So I need a cloud service that is going to securely expose my business application to the cloud. And I need an event routing service that is going to pass on the event from the event hub, from the event ingester, that the event that is arrived, and you can, the on-premise application can now pick it up and then process. So this is the uh, idea. So once the event is processed, what happens at the backend is this event is stored into an responsive database, which is with business continuity, enterprise grade security. So that is my requirement here. I need to process this business logic, processes this event data, and it saves that into an responsive database, which has got business continuity of enterprise grade security. And based on this captured information, my business logic also has some follow-up operations. Say, for example, if my vehicle's insurance is found to be expiring in a couple of days, then this business logic automates renewal of insurance. So all these are subsequent follow-up actions that has to be initiated automatically by this fleet management system. So in that case, I need an I need this logic to be implemented in my orchestrated follow-up, which can take care of various follow-up operations that needs to be taken care of. And to decouple this business logic and my orchestrated follow-up application, I need a messaging service that can um, handle the messages which are action items compiled by my business logic. So these are the requirements of this enterprise business application to fulfill their business needs. Yes. So what are the services? So now the next step is we are going to match the Azure offered service to meet these business needs. So let us do them here. We are going to choose the right Azure services that can fulfill these business needs to us. So to ingest the telematic data that is coming in, I have put in an event hub that can seamlessly ingest stream of telematic events. Yes, it can handle millions of events seamlessly, and all those events captured that can be put together into an storage account. So do you think this is itself is a complex task, isn't it? Handling millions of events per second and then converting them into and storing them into an storage data itself is a massive task, and this can be effortlessly done by consuming the event hub service from Azure. So event hub is naturally capable of handling these events, and storing them to an storage is just an configuration. So because this sharing portal and PowerPoint is little hassle, I'll complete the complete explanation and then show you how these services look like in the Azure portal. Yes, with a mere switch of a button, I can ensure that all the incoming events are captured into my storage account by taking advantage of the capture feature in my event hub. So as and when this event hub does this task, it also emits an event to my event grid saying that the capture file is created. So this is also achievable by a mere configuration that I can create on my event grid. And when your event hub is in on premium tiers, it's much more simpler. You need not even explicitly create your event grid. You can just turn on events service on your event hub. It's going to automatically create the underlying service for you, and then it communicates it to the on other service on event subscription service on the other end. Yes, so this event hub is emitting an event to event grid, and event grid is an event routing service that can efficiently pass on the event to another subscriber. So in this case, we wanted to expose our on-premise business logic to the public cloud. Yes, so relay is one of the efficient ways to expose your service to a public cloud securely. We also can achieve this using APIMs. Yes, and you have an the on-premise application is now exposed to the cloud through an relay endpoint, and this listens to the event from event grid. So when event grid passes on the event from the event hub, Now my on-premise application knows that the storage information that it is looking for has arrived in the storage account, and it can connect to my storage account, pick it up for processing. This processed information gets stored into my Cosmos DB, which is a fully managed NoSQL DB, with business continuity standards for enterprise being met. Yes, and this business application also compiles messages, which includes the action items or the follow-up processes, and pushes them into a messaging service like Service Bus Queue. And there is a logic app that is listening to the queue for executing the follow-up operations by interacting with the external services. So one requirement here is, say for example, the insurance processing or paying out a fine for over speeding. All these would invite interaction with external services, right? So in that case, logic app is an excellent service to choose with, because it implicitly has support to a rich list of connectors that pretty much has integration to many of the most used third party applications or third party integrations. So external services can be is effortlessly integrated using logic apps, and even if you want any custom integration, it's achievable with the help of custom connectors in logic apps. So this is how the fleet management system can be put together. It's more like putting together Lego blocks now. But the kind of business that we are dealing with is so critical, and we are effortlessly meeting the demands of an reactive application by turning on configurations. By configuring your services itself is taking care of meeting your reactive application needs, which otherwise would be too complex. So we also talked about elasticity, right? Like elasticity also transforms to another need of how scalable or how elastic is my application to accommodate changes. So in this scenario, say as I mentioned initially, the customer wanted to retain their legacy code on premise, but that can also be changed, right, while re-architecturing the application. Say if they want to get rid of on-premise services and fully go on cloud, so that can be effortlessly replaced with a service like durable function, which can take care of various operations quite easily, and the rest of the components that we put together can seamlessly integrate with the service, and we can get the application keep going without any downtime. So that's very important here. So without any downtime, your application can be available to your end users. It can meet the performance on the go. Say when I want to scale up or down my storage or my other say I want to like scale up my event hub to handle more events, it can all be done with mere configurations without any downtime. So let us quickly see how these applications look like in the Azure portal. Say I'm going to switch to my Azure portal, which invites me to stop sharing and then choose the Azure portal again. So let me quickly show you how does these services look like. So here is my fleet management system, which is contained within a resource group, and I have the set of services right here. So let me show you an event hub, which was an event ingesting service. And I was mentioning about the capture feature, right? Say as you see here, geo recovery, encryption, all these can be achieved at mere configurations, which are otherwise too complex for me to implement in my application. Yes. So and this events is a service that can help me integrate with the underlying event grid that is going to pass on the event, right? So I'm right now in the event hub namespace. Let me get into the event hub, which this is the event hub. So as I said, this event grid is integrated, event hub is integrated to my event grid to pass on the information to the uh, relay that was connecting to my on-premise application, right? In the case one. So this is my event grid, and you can see that it has a topic which connects me to the Event Hub namespace. So any event triggered from my Event Hub namespace is going to be passed on to my endpoint, which is an hybrid relay connection. So as I said, this can also be replaced by an APIM. APIM is also capable of exposing my on-prem application to the cloud. Yes, and Event Hub has an capture feature. So this is a Event Hub namespace. Let me get into my Event Hub, which has a feature called capture events. So this, believe me, this itself is a massive task when I have to do it on my own. So but here it's just an configuration. I can just say that turn on capture, and it takes care of saving my information into the target storage account container. And my I can also define the format of my capture file. This depends on how I have configured my downstream application to process. Say if my application needs to pick up a specific information of a specific duration, based on this file name configuration, it can pick it up. That's the idea here. Yes, so this is with the Event Hub and how it stores it into the storage account. And this Event Hub also fired an event to my event grid, which passed it on to my relay, right? And that takes care of passing on the information to my on-premise application, which can connect to the storage account to fetch the information and then perform the subsequent processing. Now, let me get back to my presentation. Yeah. So, as we saw, building applications using Azure Integration Services has simplified a lot of complexities that is involved in meeting the enterprise standards. But we also need to be aware of how do we support these applications in real time. Yes, so defining and frictionless support strategy is also critical to ensure that you support your reactive application in production without any hassle, right? So when it comes to supporting your reactive application, you need to be proactive. Being reactive doesn't work here. You need to be proactive. Even before any challenges occur in your integration, you need to have measures in place to take care of them. So that is where you need to be aware of achieving monitoring and observability is very critical. That is, so as you saw, in my Azure portal, I have got bunch of resources that spread across resource groups, that spread across regions, and it could be across subscriptions as well. In when I'm dealing with multiple in multiple customers who needs to be integrated and work together. So there is a need for achieving an overall holistic observability, which is very critical with the real-time status of your resources. Yes, that is necessary for me to realize even before my customer comes and says that there is something wrong with my system. And distributed tracing, that is, how does my integration work end to end, even in the scenario that we just saw. So actually the transaction initiates in the cloud, it gets into the on-premise application, and it ends in a cloud, right? How do I get an end-to-end visibility of a message that is flowing across all these services? That is something very critical. Yes, keeping the cost in control. So even before you realize, it is a very good chance of you overrunning your budgets when you're working with cloud. So even the well architectured framework insists on cost efficiency, right? So in one of the key reasons why organizations choose cloud is to attain to reduce their overall cost of the application, right? But that should not be a hard thing to achieve, but it is hard because you, even before you realize, if you misconfigure, if you choose an higher tier of your application when it is not even necessary, there is a possibility that you overrun your cost. Say, and simple example, say you accumulate information in your storage account, even in the scenario that we talked about now, right? There is a higher chance that this information keeps remaining in your storage account forever, even when it is not necessary. See, this information has to reside in my storage account only until my on-prem business application picks it up and then process, right? So if it stagnates in your account, it's going to keep contributing to your Azure subscription expense. So you should have automation in place which clears off these unnecessary information from your storage. Or this is just an example. So you need to pay attention to where does your Azure spending get into, and check, evaluate whether it is necessary or not. And most importantly, like governance and auditing. So I cannot give all privileges to every user on my Azure portal, right? In fact, I can only allow people with appropriate knowledge on my application and on Azure to access the Azure portal, because it's complex. It's excellent to build, but it's complex to support. Yes, so the restricting access is necessary, and auditing your user actions is also very critical. So these all, if not taken care of, will lead to an elevation in the total cost of ownership on the application. So I would like to emphasize here, the cost on your application is not just what you spend on your resources. There are so many things that are involved. Say, for example, support. Yes. So when you have your support strategy not in place, your Azure experts end up handling most of your support. That is, your they only have access to the Azure portal because they only have knowledge on the Azure portal. They only can understand the complexities involved. So we did discuss about management and monitoring solutions that Azure offers, like application insights and log analytics. But if you show that to your support user, they cannot get anything out of it. It would look like Greek and Latin to them. So in that case, you need to understand their level of knowledge and level of visibility that they need to get on their application. And security is another key challenge that we need to take care of. But operating this way, is that efficient? That is overloading all the support tasks to your Azure experienced developers and experts in the IT support team who has got good knowledge on your infrastructure. So that's not scalable, and that's not efficient as well, because ideally these people should be focusing on business innovation. That is, how can I make my fleet management more intelligent? How can I make automate further more things? How can I add more value to my business? That should be the focus of these developers. And ideally the support should be offloaded to the business users and IT support users, so that resolution to the customer is quicker. That is, so the business user finds that my transaction is failing. That is, there is a particular transaction for a specific customer fails, and even before the customer comes and reports to them, they should be in a position to deal with them. They should be in a position to provide them with a solution. So that needs to be the support team and the business users need to be enabled with a tool that they can understand, that gives them the observability that is required along with the monitoring status. So that is where we found an gap to fill in the Azure portal. In fact, to complement the Azure portal, being on Microsoft partners, so we built a tool called Serverless360 that helped offload. This has proven in to offload the support from experts to the support users safely. So more than 90% of issues that happen in business are functional errors, which can be very well handled by your business users if they have the right tool in place. And out of these 90% of just functional errors, 60% of them can be automated. Like one scenario that I talked about, this accumulation of your storage account. Yes, that can be very well dealt with an automation in a tool which can clean up your obsolete blobs in your account. Say dead letters in your service bus queue. So we talked about failure management. So in case if my logic app that is listening to my queue is not up and running now, what happens to the message? After a specified time, it ends up in the queue. This is one scenario. There could be number of reasons why a message would end up into an dead letter queue, right? Which can be visited later and then reprocessed. So for these are operational tool sets. So this needs to be fulfilled by an operational tool which can be carried out by a support user, and support users should be given with a tool which gives them the visibility on the dead letters, which means some orders has not been processed. You should give them the tool set to investigate the reason behind why these orders now have been processed and how do I restore them. So that is an a fulfillment that needs to be done. And say here is an reactive support that is like when there is an process broken, the business user reports is the follow process is broken, and they have no idea because they are raising it, escalating it to the support cell, and the support cell says that we can't see anything because they do not have visibility on where the transaction has failed and why it has failed. They escalate it to the other level of support, and they can see the problem but they don't understand what to do, and so they pass it on to the experts, and the expert ends up addressing the problem. This is definitely not an support that you need to provide to an reactive application. Instead, it should be an proactive support. That is, say, here is an alert generated by the toolset that says that there was an issue spotted on the dashboard of Serverless 360. So Serverless 360 ultimately works on the Azure offered monitoring solutions only, but it gives you an operation friendly view on the services. So whichever is complex in the Azure portal, which is ideal only for the Azure experts to use, is simplified for the support people to understand and sort out the problem in a tool like Serverless 360. So this proactively raises an alert, and the support team identifies the issue and fixes it up even before your end users realize. So that is the gap that we need to be aware of. We even before you encounter the pain point, you'll have to fill it up with the tool set that can help you offload, that is, shift left your support safely. So that brings us to the end of the session, wherein we can summarize. Like, we started off with the Reactive Manifesto. We understood, we defined the targets of our the properties that our reactive application should possess. That is responsive, resilient, elastic, and message driven. And then we explored what Azure had to offer that facilitated us to build in the for to meet the reactive needs. We explored the well architectured framework. We explored the integration platform that Azure offers that can fit into the business needs, and we chose the Azure services appropriately to meet the business need that we discussed about. And it is important we stick on to the best practices with respect to error handlings or geo replications or disaster recovery. And then we also talked about the defining the need for defining a frictionless support strategy to support your reactive application. So that brings us to the end of this session. Here I have put together some of the useful links that would help you understand or explore more on the space. And thanks to everyone who were with me for the past more than an hour. Yes, appreciate your time on a Saturday. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Essie, for the great session. I learned a lot myself about Azure Logic Apps and other integration tools in Azure, and as well as Serverless 360 as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jana.
Yes, how's your internet now? Is it better? It went well.
It went well. Okay, I'm so happy about it.
Yeah. Hi,
Yeah,
Håkan.
um,
thank you so much. We also have some questions here from the audience. So first question
mhm,
is here. It's from Azar. He says,
mhm.
"Can you scale up or out after choosing an app service plan for your app?"
App service plan is more like an a fixed, like when you have an predicted need for your application, then you choose an app service plan. Um, Consumption plan is where you can seamlessly choose up, scale up or down on runtime.
Okay. Thank you.
But you can change your tire of your application even in app service plan. That's fixed. But scaling out or scaling up and down on runtime, auto scaling, that is all possible when you are in the consumption tier.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have a second question also from Azar. So he says, what happens if I replace the event hub with event grid that you mentioned in your slide on the fleet management system?
Yeah, that's an excellent question that needs to be debated here. Like Event Hub, Event Grid, though both are eventing services, they are built to meet different requirements. Say when you have stream of events that needs to be ingested and then captured, then Event Hub is a choice. Yes, Event Hub is an event ingester, which is capable of dealing with stream of millions of events, whereas event grid is an event routing service. It can only pass on an event from one to another. So usually events are lighter, that is say events that event grid handles are very light. It just lets the topic subscription know that the event that you're looking for from the topic has arrived. That's all. So when you need to handle event with more information, which has got information that needs to be processed, that event hub should be your right choice. We cannot
Okay.
replace event hub with event grid. Yeah.
Yes. I think we have another question. Not really a question, but a question if they could get a copy of your presentation file.
Presentation file, yeah, I'm happy to share, no
Yes,
problem.
later.
I can share
Yes,
it with
yes.
Jonah and Hakan. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question, personal. I mean, a question from my side, not in the chat right now, but I wonder, how do you test Azure Logic apps? I'm curious about the process of testing because, I mean, I work with serverless Azure
Functions.
functions, yes, as durable functions, and that you can make tests in the code. But I'm wondering, how do you do testing with Azure Logic apps with all the integrations that we can do with it?
Correct. So, and more when you need control on the code that you write, yes, your obvious choice is Azure Functions, wherein you have the privilege of running it in your IDE and then debugging it. Yes. But when it comes to logic apps, the designer view itself allows you to execute your logic app run and then see which action has failed or not, and that pretty much gives you an idea, because here we are integrating with third party services. We rely on them that their part of logic is going to work fine, and all that we need to take care of is our workflow management. That can be very well done, but if you're expecting an IDE support, logic app standard solves that need. Like you can run your code of logic app standard pretty much like Azure function in your IDE to debug and then check it out.
Okay.
Oh, Jonah and Hakan, I need to keep you aware that my my laptop battery is running low.
Yes. Yeah, but
uh,
maybe you're able we're gonna end our session, live session soon, and then we're gonna switch to Zoom to those
yeah.
who wants to join us. But maybe you are maybe you can catch up loading your battery or get some charger when you switch to
Yes, as
Zoom.
as I told you, there is a shutdown here to be preventive of the natural
Yes.
disaster. So,
Yeah.
so I'll
We
like as long as I can, I'd be happy to be a part of
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I hope
Maybe
the power resumes by then.
yeah, maybe we can share the link to the Fika session and Zoom to those who wants to
Yes.
join us for an after discussion.
Yeah, so let's do like this. So over here you can see the QR link to this after session, and we will also share the link here in the chat. So here comes the link to Zoom. Oh, so for those of you who wants to join, you can just connect to that, and yes.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
I'll pass on this link to my mobile as well. So in case if this gets shut down, I'll join from there.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Essie, for the great presentation. We learned a lot, and I hope the audience learned a lot from Essie's presentation as well. Yes, it's time to end the session again, but we're not over yet. Yes,
Thank
thank you so much, Essie, and everyone that joined us today. I hope that you will have a great
you.
weekend
Yeah.
today and tomorrow. Yes, and see you later at Zoom.
Yes. Yes. See
Yes,
you later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank
yes.
you.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.